nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Angel, do you want to be the prayer lady?
Prayer lady. In the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Dear God, please help us to all have a nice meeting. Help us to listen to each other and help us to do what you would want us to do. Thank you for bringing us all together. And please let us keep our hearts and minds open. Thank you, Lord. Amen. Amen.
Okay, clerk can call the roll.
Sure.
Thank you.
Trustee Shake. Here. Trustee Bonomo.
Here.
Supervisor Ballich.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. The first thing will be recognition of the Eagle Scout, right here. God bless you.
Okay, so the mission of the Boy Scouts of America is to prepare young people to make ethical and moral choices over their lifetime by instilling in them the values of the Scout, oath, and law. A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. We have our Boy Scouts are here, and he's earned the rank of Eagle Scout. We're very proud of you.
Good.
Congratulations, Kyle. Supervisor Ballich. This way. And will Kyle's parents please come up here so we can get a picture? Thank you.
Eagle Scout makes it because Mom and Dad help too.
Oh, I'm sure.
They're a big help.
Okay, look this way for 1 second. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kyle, for coming to our meeting. We appreciate it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, we have presentation by Hero. We have Mr. Roberts going to speak to us.
Well, I came here to offer my help, and I know a few of you on the board. This is the guy, boy, wait till I talk to him. I came to the meeting, Rob. My name is John Roberts. I'm the president of the Heroin Epidemic Relief Organization. And I promised, it was born here in Homer Glen. I don't live in Homer Glen anymore. I moved away. But I hope you've heard of my organization. It's called Hero. And I heard some very alarming things are going on. And you know, I wish all the young men and women in this country, in this township, were as good as this young man. You wouldn't have me here speaking. But in my case, my son, Billy, the reason we started this organization, my son passed away from a heroin overdose back in 2009. As Steve knows, I'm a retired police chief and formerly Dr. Roberts of Lewis University too, but all that went to the wayside after I lost my son. It's one reason I don't live in Homer anymore. The memories are all bitter with that part of my life. But you know what? At a time right after that, this city, this village came forward and helped me and Brian Kurt, another dad who lived here in Homer Glen, to start Hero. And we've heard and we've always tried to help Homer Glen whenever we could. But recently it came to us that, and this is very alarming, but I think you should hear it, that frequently it's referred to as Heroin Glen now. And don't be embarrassed or shocked. It's happening everywhere in our nation. I read an article recently, every county in our nation has felt the sting of what my family went through. We started Hero just for this reason, that no family should ever get the news that I got on September 20th, 2009. And the next day, I assembled my family at the dinner table and I said, so that Billy will have a longer life than 19 years on this planet, we're going to do something that will help other unsuspecting families, and we're going to protect them. I've been doing that since that day. And then, like I say, Hero was formed here, and we held our first march and rally, and when we turned to the city, they didn't know quite what to do, but they were fair and they were honest, and they gave us all the help they could. And we held that inaugural event And back then in 2009, the epidemic wasn't quite as bad. I gave our name Hero, an epidemic, because of what I saw in the data. But that year there was around 30,000 deaths. Last year in this nation there was 108,000. There are 20 to 25 million people in this nation right now who have a substance abuse problem so bad that they need treatment. 90% of them don't think so, and if they did go to looking for the treatment, they wouldn't find it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an epidemic going on in our nation. We don't have enough treatment facilities. We don't have a lot of help for those people who are being made sick by the drug pushers. Now, as a former cop, if you want to know where my hate goes to the people who are peddling the poison to our kids, like to my son. And now that is much, much worse. It's not heroin anymore, it's fentanyl. And they're putting it into pills with the pill-making pill press. And they are sending it, they just caught 54 pounds that was on its way to Detroit. 54 pounds would kill most of northeastern United States. It's just that deadly. 2 grams would kill one person, so 54 pounds. Do the math. This young man can probably help us with the math. Metrics always got me. But the bottom line is we have a very serious problem. Now, I've attended 2 meetings down the street, and we're already making arrangements, and my daughter Bonnie, our community outreach coordinator, Bonnie Tongson Roberts Tongson, however you want to do it. We are going to be there all 4 days, and with our trailer, the trailer is a mock-up of a teenager's bedroom, and parents will be allowed in. No, sorry young man, even somebody like you, unless you're 18, we won't let you in. But we show parents what to look for and how to spot the early signs of substance abuse so that they maybe can save their child's life. That's the first thing that we offered. But we said that, and the school year is almost over, but I've been coming to these meetings for a while. I'd love to go into these schools. I've been in several schools recently, and it's sad that I never was invited to the school where both Brian Kirk's son and my son went. I'd like to get into the Lockport School and talk to the kids of this region. I mean, this is still my community. I live in Tinley Park now, but this will always be. When I retired from the Chicago Police Department, in my early speeches about Hero, I would say I moved to this dream house in this beautiful village, and guess what followed me from the city? Well, as it turns out, that problem is now, it's now everybody in the nation has to worry about it. Even rural America is getting devastated by this drug. So I'm here to make you aware that I think most of you know. I credit all of you with being fully aware of just how bad the problem is. The media doesn't do a real good job. Fox TV does. Every day there's 2 or 3 stories, but not enough people in the nation know we have a very, very serious problem. And the ones that I'm most interested in, please help me get into the schools, the middle schools, the high schools. If we talk to our kids, let's take the market away from the cartels. That's always been. I'm trying to get a law passed. Maybe Steve, you can help me with the board on that. But we have to get a law passed so that our kids are warned about, well, the DEA's motto: 1 pill kills. That's how deadly fentanyl is. A DEA study just released shows that many of the pills have more than 2 milligrams of fentanyl in it. They did a survey and they had as much as 5.1 milligrams of this poison in these pills. Any teenager who takes that pill that he gets in the mail is dying that night. So we've got to tell the kids, for God's sake, don't take the pill. We can do it with parents and family, we can do it with our schools, we can do it with our local leaders, but I think if you guys are interested, Hero can come out and do an awful lot. We visit schools all the time. You could have a community meeting and invite any family that wants to know about it or what they can do about it. We are also a Narcan distributor. We work through and with the state of Illinois, and we distribute Narcan, which is an antidote for anybody who
Free
has.
Narcan, free.
Yeah, and it's free. Oh yeah, it's absolutely free. Everything we do, by the way, everything I'm offering is free. We're a charity. I mean, people make donations to us, and we turn around and spend it on our kids and on communities. So if we can do anything to help, I make a promise to all of you, we're sincere. We're here to help save our kids. I know what it's like to lose one. Let's not let any homer parents go through it ever again. Thank you.
Hey, John?
Thank you.
You want to give me a call, because I can get you on one of the committees for public health and safety,
Sure.
and you want to work on a law, I can make it so at least you have an opportunity to do it.
Okay. Will do, Steve, thank you,
Hey,
sir.
John, I have one question for you real quick.
Yes, sir.
As a drug dealer, are they ever charged with the murder that's caused by the person they sold drugs to?
Thank you for asking. I'm still a cop. I've had a person say, when did you put up the right flag? I didn't. Those two are from a group, another Chicago police officer runs in Chicago, Carrie Almanza, and it's drug-induced homicide. And I visited with every state's attorney in northern Illinois, and now they are prosecuting it more often. There is a book on the drugs, there's a drug law on the books, that anybody who makes a sale to another person of any of the substances that we're talking about here tonight, and that person dies, you can be charged with drug-induced homicide. When my son died, it was in Chicago, and I knew after 33 years with that department, they make out a hospitalization case report. And, but now we've got an agreement with most of the state's attorneys. I've been told Kim Fox agrees with it, but she's leaving office soon, so we have to prosecute. You know, it isn't enough that I could, as a former homicide detective, I knew nobody was gonna look for my son's killer. I mean, I asked and I helped them, I did a lot of things, but it just didn't happen. So I've been fighting for this, and Chicago Police Department now trains all new detectives. They are going after this. They are gonna start prosecuting cases more and more and more. I know because I've trained 2 of their classes. So we've gotta do that more. Just like some young man who gets sold, God forbid, you know, and becomes addicted, he's the victim of a drug crime. That's how I view it now. And the person who did that to him is the person who sold him the drugs, and they should be suffering in prison for as long as we put them there. They're hurting people, and we're just losing sight of who are the victims in a lot of our crime situations. But absolutely, sir, you can count on me. I've been fighting for it, and I actually support it. My lectures down at the police academy. Good question, though.
Yeah, the DEA, I know we were at an event in November, and they said that they do want to push to punish the dealers and stuff like that.
It'll be a good deterrent.
It's difficult, but they do absolutely try. They absolutely do.
And it's a Class X charge, so if you get them for distribution and drug-induced homicide, it's 2 Class X felonies.
Well, I'll endorse you for Kim Fox's spot.
Thank you, John, and if you need anything from the township, just call, because we will do our best to help you.
All of us.
Thank you.
That's what I came to hear, and the same message from us to you
For your
guys.
daughter,
We're here to help.
I mean, you guys are together, so we will go out of our way to help you.
Do you have a card, John?
What about the junior high also, the Homer Junior High? Would you want to get
I'd
it there
love to.
also?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so
That's, I actually
let's
started.
make a couple phone calls then to the junior high and the high school.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I just, I'll be doing Park next week, but I did Maris, Brother Rice. I mean, I've been hitting some of the bigger schools. I was just, and 4400 Northwestern. I was up at Queen of Angels last week.
John,
Oh, here.
I'll go anywhere to help kids. And our kids are dying, and that's sick. It's gotta stop. But thank you for your time and your support.
Thank you, John.
And when you guys see Robert,
Yeah, right. So,
he's a good man.
I don't know, Bonnie, did you have anything to say, or?
Echoing what my dad said, I'm the community outreach coordinator, so I do the scheduling for a Hidden in Plain Sight trailer. We'll be at Homerfest, we're really excited for that. But on a personal level, if there's anything we can do for any one of you guys, family members, friends, anyone around here, we'd be happy to do that. From Narcan training, family support, grief support, my dad, speaking in area schools. But this is home, this will always be home, and on a phone call with it.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you.
Hey, next we're going to have public comment, but before the public comments, I see there's a lot of people. If anyone's here about the Muslim cemetery that's going in, we have no jurisdiction over it at all in Homer Township. It's all going to be done by the county, because they're the ones in charge of it, just so you know up front. So, I mean, you can say what you want, but we have no vote in it. It's going to the county tomorrow, and there's an agenda item for a text amendment to change the current laws. And I don't know how what's going to happen, because whatever goes down there is going to be a vote of the board, and there's 22 people voting, and there's a tiebreaker with the county executive. So nobody knows how that's going to come out. So I mean, you can say whatever you want, but I'm just letting you know. So at 9:30, or 10:30 tomorrow. Am I going wrong? Yeah, no, 9:30, right? 9:30 tomorrow at 302 North Chicago. And that's the landfill committee.
9:30 or 10:30?
No,
30.
you know what, I think it's 10:30, I'm
It's
sorry,
10:30.
I wrote it down, and you know what? It's been a long, no, it's not there. It's been a long day, but if you look on the county agenda for land use, you'll see it, and I believe it's 10:30, you're right. You have to excuse me, it's been a real long day, which is good, because it keeps me healthy. But, so, just so you know, there'll be a vote there. So maybe there'll be a vote if we, you know, an actual, I don't know exactly. We have it down for a vote, but I don't know if it'll happen. Because you don't know until you get there with this. Because this is all surprise to the entire county board. So a lot of these people don't even know about it. So anyway, with that, you want to call the people up?
Sure. The first person to sign up was Mike Carlson. Mike?
I just wanted to give everybody an update on the dog park. I went out on my own time and I reseeded the one side of the dog park. So it'll be about 3 weeks before we'll start seeing germination going through it, but I heavily seeded it. I volunteered my time to do that, and I had talked to some people out there. If we can get a couple extra picnic tables out there, one on each side, would be great, because the one picnic table is like, it's just too crowded, and then people are standing around and they'd like to sit down because somebody said something about they want to eat lunch out there with the dogs and all that stuff. So I said, I'll see what I can do. I'll ask the board. I'm asking you guys now if that's possible. We can get a couple picnic tables out there. And then once that seed germinates, then I'll go do the other side, and then we'll wait a few weeks on that and reopen it, and we should have beautiful grass there and no more mud.
Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
Thank you, Mike.
Normally, we don't converse during this type of thing, but I want to make sure everybody knows that Mike paid, the township did not pay for any of the work or any of the seeds or anything. So the entire thing was done by Mike Carlson. So that's an important thing for everybody to know, so they don't think that when you don't see a bill on our stuff that we hid it on you. There just isn't a bill, because Mike did it on his own, and we thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike.
Okay, next is Gail Schneider. Gail?
Thank you. Oh, sure, thanks. Gail Snyder, Village of Homer Glen and Homer Township resident. This administration has shown every effort to keep the public in the dark regarding what you have tried to do with open space parcels since coming into office. One of the things you have done with open space were part of your original campaign to get elected, kept your agenda for open space hidden, and continue to do so. You've deliberately moved all plans for open space properties to private meetings so the public would not know what you were planning. You structured the members of the group making plans for open space strategically to avoid having to conform with the state's Open Meetings Act. This is how you avoid the transparency that the public seeks. The township trustees have been complicit allowing this to occur. I'm disappointed that two of them are not here. Neglecting their duties as trustees. Nobody elected the highway commissioner to plan an event center on Trantina Farm, yet that seems to be exactly what is happening, and without oversight by the elected board, because no plan has been submitted to them. They seem okay with that. Ignorance is bliss, I guess. At the last township meeting on April 11th, 2023, no member of the township administration mentioned that bulldozers would start working on the Trantina Farm the very next day. This was a deliberate effort to keep the public from knowing, objecting, or possibly preventing the work. The permit the township applied for at the village is for a parking lot. It's not for a building, but your agenda this evening says it's for a building and a parking lot. Residents approved an advisory referendum to seek a grant for a pole barn. Now you claim to be saving the community $200,000 on a parking lot or a parking lot and a building site that you have no permit for. Nobody has approved a plan. Certainly the township trustees have not, the village has not, and the public has not seen a plan. Since only some of you seem to be in on what the actual plan is, I have some questions for anyone on the township who can answer them. Where is the plan, and what is the process used to evaluate and locate the site of the parking lot and building on the Trantina Farm? How was the site for the parking lot chosen? Was this just a plan drawn on the back of a napkin? Is this the kind of quality planning and respect for a public asset the community is supposed to accept? What portion of the area now under topsoil removal is a parking lot, and what portion of it is for the building? What is the exact location of the free clay that is coming in? What will they test the clay soil for? Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, next is Margaret Sabo.
Hello, Homer Township Supervisors and Trustee. My name is Margaret Sabo, and I'm a resident of Homer Glen. I'm also a resident of Homer Township. I was part of the open space program even before it had become a reality. So this goes back to approximately 2019, and I've been on the open space committee since that time, except since this newly elected board has been on. So I would like to read something here that this plan that is being exposed, or we don't know much about it, but yes, we heard things about it, is not the plan that the Homer Township Committee was told to do by referendum. So this is so drastically different that I had to come here and read this. There's definitely a big problem at the Trantina Farm open space property and the questionable way Homer Township handled its development procedure for its concept plan for this open space property. I don't know what the concept plan is. This was done without transparency and without public disclosure at Homer Township meetings. The public was not given a chance to respond ahead of time of this meeting. The concept plan has not been approved by Homer Township at a Homer Township meeting, yet they are going ahead with activity. However, a permit was granted to construct an access road in a large parking lot of 80,000 square feet, that's almost 2 acres. Construction began on Wednesday, April 14th. Homer Township has created a drastic concept plan and completely alters the Trantina property with definite negative consequences. Without a doubt, this is a very bad plan for the Trantina property and certainly not a good fit for 151st Street location. What I have heard about this plan is more for a commercial area with lots of traffic, which they say this plan will bring. Consideration has not been addressed about the effects and negative impacts the concept plan will have upon traffic, safety issues, a more rural type neighborhood, and the immediate neighbors around there and far away as 151st Street in general. Will that street be widened because of this? What kind of traffic will it bring to a very rural area? Among many problems, what about the Austin Welter Barn? I've heard that we're going to save it, we're going to burn it, we're going to knock it down, we're going to repurpose it for $200,000.
Margaret, 15 seconds, please.
Pardon me?
15 seconds, please.
Thank you very much. We also are concerned for the historic barn. We have read a lot about it. So the township plan should be stopped going any further and not approved for many reasons. I'm very concerned about what the soil contains. Is it toxic?
Thank you, Margaret. Okay, Lynn Richardson. Lynn?
Good evening, my name's Lynn Richardson. Good evening to all of you. I live in Homer Township. I've been a resident for 31 years. I just have a few questions here this evening. Obviously, I've never heard of so many surprises in my whole life. Everybody's surprised about everything, it seems like. But I live on Meter Road, and I was at the Homer Glen meeting a week ago. Are they doing road construction on Meter? Is there going to be resurfacing or?
This year, yes.
Okay, what, can you tell me what's going to be done, and is it all of Meter
Brent will
Road?
cover that in his report.
You'll cover it?
Yes.
Okay, great. I seen it on there, but I wasn't quite sure.
Yes.
I called the administrative office for Homer Township to ask about the meeting, and of course the cemetery came up. I don't understand being told on the telephone or cell phone why Homer Township has nothing to do with the cemetery that sits on Meter Road in Homer Township. How does Homer Township not have anything to do with this? Can anybody explain that to
You guys are all
me?
done, I'll split it.
I'm sorry?
I'll explain it again when you guys are all done
Okay,
with public
because,
comment.
I mean, obviously they're using the roads that I pay real estate taxes on and everything else. How does it not have anything to do with Homer Township? I was so taken back when I called the township about it, but anyway, a lot of the things were covered over the farm. A lot of my questions were answered, so I really don't need to ask that, but thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Okay, and Rose Reinertz. Hi, Rose.
I really just wanted to reiterate a couple things for the residents. As you know, I am a Homer Glen Township trustee, not a township trustee, sorry. A few of the things that I went to the meeting the other night myself, and I listened, and I was very disappointed at the fact that there were not answers given to the residents of the township, like yourself, that nobody was prepared for that meeting. As a trustee, it's our fiduciary responsibility to take care of our residents. And part of what was done there, to me, was nothing more than a photo op and a dog and pony show. And if I was a resident who lived in that unincorporated area of Homer Township, I would be on the phone with the EPA and with the Illinois Department of Regulations that regulate cemeteries, and I wouldn't get off the phone until they answer me. And I'd show up at their office. I have 20 years in state senate. I worked for a state senator. And believe me, the only way that we would ever get anything done, they would jam our phone lines. When there was something of importance that people needed the answer to, they would jam our phone lines until they got an answer. And even though I don't live in that area, my biggest concern would be the water table and the sewer system. So the only place you're going to get those answers is from the EPA. The village we have no jurisdiction over it. And you asked about the jurisdiction from the township. That is unincorporated Homer Township. That's not Homer Township proper. So therefore, not the village nor the township can even touch that project without the okay from the county. The county is the one who is actually spearheading that whole project. And that's where everybody needs to direct all of their questions to, is the county. And the county has to answer you. So as a person who takes care of the residents in this community and in this township, that I try to answer, we try to look for for the answer for everything we can. We try to address things. What needs to be addressed is you need to go to the EPA and you need to go to the Illinois Department of Regulation. And you need to bang down their doors and jam up their phone lines until they give you an answer. Now, with that said, I'm not against the cemetery. I'm not against Muslims. I'm not against anybody. I get along with everybody. But the thing of it is, don't make this about race, because it's not about race. It's about our government that doesn't answer questions for the people that pay taxes. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you. Good for you. Okay, John and Bonnie they were signed up, but they already spoke, so thank you. That concludes the
Okay.
public comments.
The question with the Muslim cemetery. The township is a unit of government, it's 36 square miles. All townships are 36 square miles. It's actually a measurement, a unit of measurement. So townships are not cities. So a city has control with zoning laws and things like that. The township doesn't have a building code. The township doesn't have any of that stuff. The city does. Everything that happens in a township is controlled by the county. So when we have a problem like what's going on now, the county's the one that makes the decision. And that's why at the meeting, when the land use, the meeting wasn't going to have anybody there except myself and Jim Richmond. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, I'm going to look like a big idiot because I don't know how to answer those questions. I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not on the, I don't know all the land use codes by heart where I can sit there and spout them out. So I asked the land use to come, and they sent 2 people. And I asked the health department, because what do I know about anything with cemeteries? You want me to pretend and I can make up stuff, but I don't do that, I tell the truth. So we got those 2 people there. And then Cass Wendelin, he's the supervisor for New Lenox Township, and it butts up to Homer. So his people are affected also. And he came. And what probably should have happened is, again, I called the 2 people, the 2 places that I can get because I'm on the county board. If I call the IPA, they're gonna tell me to jump in a lake. And the health department did call the IPA, and they wouldn't come out because it was too short of a notice. That's what I was told. Then there's a cemetery control board, the Department of Regulation. So they didn't come. So a bunch of the questions that were asked, nobody knew the answers because that isn't their field of expertise. So people left angry. And I get it. But there's, if you're gonna have the meeting, that's fine. But it wasn't really, we didn't have enough of the right people. Because the land use department, all they said is the truth. It's a permitted right. So you don't have to have public hearings when it's a permitted right. So that means they just go and do it. The road commissioner will talk about how he gives a permit, but the same thing. The county has to say that they can give a permit first. You just don't, there's a lot involved with this stuff, but it's all from the county. So what we're gonna be talking about tomorrow is changing the codes. Now, is it gonna pass? I don't know. There's 22 people on the board, like I said earlier. So I can't tell you how any one person on that board is gonna vote. And I don't think it's a Republican Democratic issue either. So I think there's people on both sides that have different opinions. So I have no clue. But I do think what'll end up happening, just from what I've been talking to at recent days, since that last meeting, I have a feeling that 5 acres is not gonna be able to be stopped at all. Because those people that bought a piece of property, they own it, and according to all the rules, they were able to do what they want on it. Now, if we change the rules, are we gonna be able to stop the other 35 acres? I don't know. And I don't know what the state's attorney's gonna say, but when I was talking with land use, the land use department told me that it's gonna be pretty hard to tell somebody that bought a piece of property that has the right to do whatever they want to their own property that they bought, and the thing that they want to do is a permitted right, and they checked it before they bought it. It's a permitted right. So how are we going to have the state's attorney fight a legal battle to shut that 5 acres down? So in my opinion, that's just my opinion, because I'm not on the land use committee. I go to every meeting because I'm in leadership, so I show up at every single meeting. But I know that there's going to be a lot of back and forth on both sides of the aisle, and I have no clue what's going to happen. And whatever comes out of it, all I can say is that it is going to be talked about rather heavily tomorrow at the county. Because the people that were at the meeting, myself, Frankie Pretzel, Jim Richmond, we've been talking to our caucus, and everybody knows what it is, but nobody seems to really want to commit. And to me, the biggest issue with that thing is what Rosie said. Rosie hit a home run, it's the water. So if you guys go to the meeting tomorrow, your questions, it shouldn't be about a cemetery, it should be about water. Does burying a body, like one person in a 5-foot hole, could that contaminate the water? Does burying 3 people in a 7-foot hole, spread out. Does that hurt the water? Are most of those wells shallow wells, or are they 80, 90 feet deep? We don't know. Those are questions that we have to have answered. They talked about soil samples. Well, they didn't ask for soil samples because that property has the right to do it without soil samples. If we can get the special amendment passed, then places would need soil samples. But for right now, there's so many questions that are unanswered, and I don't want to give people the impression like you go there tomorrow and you can raise hell and they're going to listen to you, and people are real worried about cemeteries. That's something you don't mess with. So if you're, like I'm a Catholic, you know, I grew up, you get buried in the ground. Well, Jewish people get buried the same way as the Muslim people do. So then I asked the question, where are these, because Jewish people and Muslim people do die, right? So where have they been buried at? So that's the question I asked today. So I talked with a cemetery guy. And the guy says, well, they bury them in the traditional cemeteries. And I said, well, they use coffins? No, they buy like a section and that's where they bury their stuff. So if that's true, I don't take somebody's word, because you can say something and it's not necessarily true, but they do have to put them somewhere. And so if they are going in a traditional cemetery, are they damaging the waters around that cemetery? I don't know, but they've been doing it for years. And then another person told me, what about during the Civil War, how many people were just thrown in big giant holes? Did that hurt the water? I don't know. But this is modern times now, so when the guy from the health department was talking, he said that the soil had to have certain types of pH and certain consistencies and stuff so that the body would decompose properly. If you guys remember that, if you were there? Mm-hmm. Well, if we can do this change to require a special use permit, we'll be able to demand that we'll have those soil samples. And we'll be able to demand that we'll account for parking, because some people might be concerned about parking. And we'll be able to demand that you can only go in certain hours of the day or night. And you can't do certain things, or you have to do certain other things. But that's what the idea is behind a special use permit. But even with a special use permit, once they comply to a special use permit, then they can do it. It's a state law that cemeteries are a permitted right. You know, and so when they're permitted, there's not much we could do. We could make special rules, but if they follow the rules, how do you stop them? And then the other, you know, I'm not taking a side, I'm just telling you like I think. What makes the way we do things right, they think the way they're doing it right. And in the end, when we're dead, as long as you're not hurting the water, it probably doesn't make a bit of difference. But the water's the key to this stuff. So if you're researching stuff, find out about the water, because that's the most important thing, because nobody on that county board's going to want to vote for something that's going to give contaminated water to anybody in Will County. That's the only thing I think that would get everybody to say no to something. If people want to say no because it's a Muslim cemetery or a Jewish cemetery, Catholic cemetery, they don't care. They're blind to all that stuff. They care about the water, but that's it. So I don't know if I helped you people enough, but that's going to be the issue tomorrow. So with that, we'll move on to my report here. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Vicki, you got your report?
I'd like a motion to approve the April 11, 2023 monthly township board meeting minutes.
I'll start the motion.
Second. Well, you can second, and I'll just,
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, motion passes. So in regard to the parade, it will be held Saturday, June 24th, 2023. Lineup is at 9:30, kickoff is at 10:30. And the rain date is the next day, which is Sunday, June 25th. It's the exact same time. We are at about a little bit over 20 groups. And also the Shriners are going to be joining us. They're gonna bring anywhere between 10 and 25 groups to be in our parade. So I'm really excited about that, all their different little activities that they have, including some classic cars and those carpets. So that'll be really nice. And if anybody else wants to sign up, please, just go to our website and there's a link there, or you can contact me, you can call me here at the office or email me at vbozen@homertownship.com. So we are looking for a few more groups. Of course, we'd love everyone to join us on that day. In regards to the Pet Expo, we have about 20 vendors. I would like to get a few more if possible. It is Saturday, June 17th, 2023, from 12 p.m. until 3 p.m. right behind us here at Town Center Park in Homer Glen. Jim Shake and Jay Rohde are working on the pet pantry, so we are working on that still. And I am also looking for volunteers, probably as many high school age students as we can get would be great. They can use volunteer hours towards their graduation. And also we could use some adult volunteers. If the adults are interested, the volunteer application is online, or again, you can call the office here or email me, vbozen@homertownship.com. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. Okay, the first thing that I have is presentation of the Homer Township tentative budgets, general assistance, Founders Crossing General, Founders Crossing Bond, open space park developer contributions, and town funds for the fiscal year April 1st, 2023 through March 31st, 2024. The clerk will publish the notice of public hearing scheduled for June 12th, 2023. Then I need that's just informational. Then I need a motion to dissolve the Committee on Local Government and Efficiency Act.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
Notification to the residents that Homer Township will be installing fences on the properties belonging to Homer Township where encroachments are occurring. And that would be on the Paul property and the Welter property. The township owns the land, the farmer pays to lease all the land, and people are using the land instead of the farmer. And when they go on that land, the township is responsible if something happens to them. And if something happened, they'll sue us. So we have to make sure they don't go on it, so we're putting a fence up so that they know that they can't go on it. And I don't know if we're out to talk to the attorney, but I might have to put no trespassing signs up along with the fence too. Is that true?
I don't know that it's necessary, but we'll talk about whether that's
But
advisable or not.
we're gonna find out, but we're gonna put it up at the Welter property, and we're starting as soon as the weather breaks. We don't want the guys to go out in the mud. Motion to accept the bid and approve the contract for Lark Park Heights Sanitary District, the CBGD, 144th Place Sanitary Sewer Replacement Project to Benchmark Construction Company in the amount of $1,248,000. Can I get a motion for that?
I'll start the motion.
I'll take a roll call. Trustee Shake? Yes. Trustee Bonomo?
Yes.
Supervisor Ballage?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. And the only other thing I want to say is that we have no plans on the Trantina farm. So Euphoria, there's nothing that we concretely have that we can give you. So that's one thing. Our highway commissioner will talk more about what's going on now. But we are brainstorming about what we can do there. And, when you say it's, like certain people say it's not we're not able to do what we want to do to it. That property is not open space, it's A1 with ag tourism. And even if it was open space, active and passive recreation on open space is a legal use. And that we're calling it a civic center once we figure it out. But we're planning, like I said, we would like to see a basketball court in there for wheelchair basketball, because we have a lot of special needs kids here. So if the people don't like it, let them complain, but I think that's important that we take care of the special need kids that play basketball, because our kids got to go all the way to New Lenox to play basketball. Then we also need more room for our seniors. If we can move the wall and we can put tables down, and we got somewhere for the seniors to play bingo, because our senior group is growing to be a big group. So we need to accommodate them. Then we have theater groups here, and there's nowhere for them to go to have a show. So we want to have a stage. So we're going to end up with a place for the theater groups to put their shows on for their family. So if you're talking about active and passive recreation, those are things we're talking about, where there'll be a kitchen in there. And so we were thinking that maybe we could have cooking classes for people. And then there's outside of the thing, like Mike Bonoma was talking about, gardening with the seniors in the summer. So there's a lot we can do, and none of that stuff would fall out of the realm of what is illegal by state statute for open space. And like I said before, it's not open space, it's zone A1 with ag tourism. So people can be disappointed or say it's not true, but that's what it is. That's how it's zoned. And even if it wasn't, remember this, even if it wasn't, it's active and passive recreation. It just isn't for corn. It's for people. And originally, when they bought that stuff, that was called open space, but I don't want to get into why it's not, because it's a little messy and it'll take a long time. But when they bought that stuff, there's a plan called the Bouchot Design Group. They planned big structures on it, swimming pools. You wouldn't believe all the stuff that's on that plan. And that came from the open space rules saying active and passive recreation. And we got the design. It's from 2002 or something like that. So let's be clear about this. The people that don't want it, it's a political issue with them. Before they bitched because we didn't do it, now they're bitching because we're doing it. So guess what? We're moving forward because it's in the best interest of all the people to do this. So with that, we'll move on to the next person's report.
Well, we also need to mention that Welter Farm was originally zoned open space, and people in political position actually sold acres of that, and now Welter Farm is no longer open space.
That's not true.
You know, you guys are really twisting the information. You are lying. You're lying to people who know.
You're out of order, Margaret.
Thank you.
Okay, Brent's report.
Okay, Brent Verpillier, the Highway Commissioner report, and if you want to touch on it in your report with the Trantina property.
Yeah, Gail, Lynn, and Margaret had some questions. I'm going to try to provide answers to as many as I can. So I was asked by Mr. Balich, since I'm a professional engineer, to start up and try to help with getting this project off the ground at the Civic Center. There's no formal committee or anything like that. He asked me to try to get it going, and that's what I'm doing, because that's what I have a license for. So that's how that started. The things that I can tell you about Trantina Farm. So last month, there's an agreement that the township has with M&J Underground. They're the contractors that are bringing in clay fill that's going to be used for the building pad that he was talking about. And also, when you have a building, you need parking for it. The parking that's out there now there's not enough. So you also need to have a parking lot out there, okay? So So both of those are necessary assets that we have to have out there. So on any farm, you have anywhere from 1 foot to 2 feet of topsoil. You cannot build on that. It's got to be stripped off, and then clay has to be brought in, and it's got to be leveled out. Okay, so that's why we need clean clay fill out there. And I was able to get over 5,000 cubic yards of clean clay fill from M&J Contractors. And they're also doing the stripping of the topsoil in the areas by the building and by the east parking lot in order to bring in the clay fill. Okay? So that determines where the clay fill is going right now, and the quantity that they're giving me was even less than what we're going to eventually need, but it's saving us a lot of money. And I think the amount of money is in here, it's over 200,000. For 5,000 yards of clay, you got to include the clay, you got to include the delivery of the clay, you got to include the placement of the clay, you got to include the stripping of the topsoil and stockpiling of it on the site. The existing structures that are out there, we want to save them. We don't want to knock them down. That's not something that I would support, and I think that's something that probably the township is going to support. The structures are old. They're going to have to be inspected to make sure they're stable. You don't want people walking around in that area, or maybe even walking through a couple of the structures and having it collapse on them. That's liability on the township. We don't want that. So that's another thing that's got to be done. Let's see. What else? There's a concept plan that we received last year that's still in development, and we're trying to finalize that so this summer we can have public meetings on it, so we can get input from the residents. I like this part of it, I don't like this part of it, have you considered this? How about if we move things around? So public input is going to be solicited. That is coming. Since we don't have a date yet, we can't announce anything yet. As far as the clay fill project, at the last meeting, I still didn't have in my hand a signed agreement with the contractor. So I'm not going to announce something at the meeting unless I have something in writing. I did not have it in writing until the next day, and then they started immediately. Is it clean clay fill? It's up to the contractor to test it before I get it. And as a checks and balances, I'm going to get borings done before we start the activities for the Civic Center. And if there's any hot soil, they're going to have to come out and dig it out and take it out. What else?
Brent, the choice of the location, how would
Yeah,
come about that?
so the building is going to try to be, we're trying to centrally locate it by the other structures that are there and work them into the design. And obviously, whenever you have a topsoil development, something that's all grass or crops, the water soaks straight down into the ground, okay? And it recharges the groundwater. When you pave it, it runs off, and there's contaminants in it and other things like that, so you've got to have stormwater management that takes care of that. So we're trying to work some little ponds in with fountains around the building, because it's things that we have to incorporate in the design anyways. So parking lot, building, water features, and that's where we're at now. The reason why we're doing all this is to pursue grants. We don't have a lot of money to build all this. Everybody knows that. So we're having some, we have a grant writer that's helping us. There's going to be a grant writer that's going to be helping us. So we need to provide her with a concept plan that's agreed to by the public. We need to have an estimate of cost for this thing to give to the grant writer. And that goes in the application. And then depending on how much money we get, can we build the whole thing? Can we build a phase at a time? We don't know yet. It's possible if we don't get any grant money, nothing's going to get built. I don't know, but I think isn't there money in open space fund for this? I don't know
now,
how that works.
to interrupt you, but right now, we have ARPA grant money that we're qualified for, and we also have money from the CBGD.
Okay.
And so, but the stuff that we got right now is not for the building, it's for the sewers, the sewer.
Infrastructure, okay.
Infrastructural type things.
Okay.
And roads, access, they're called.
Yeah, yes.
But that's what we're gonna get, but we will not raise any taxes to do this. It's gonna be a nice building when it's done, but we are not gonna raise your taxes. Our levy is gonna get froze again this year, just like last year. We're not raising the taxes. The first year we got in, we cut the daylights out of the all levy. And Brent cut his levy 2 years in a row. Township cut it all the way down to the bone the first year, and then we froze it. And then we're gonna freeze it again. We're against increased taxes. We think government's supposed to represent people, not hurt them by charging them more money to live here.
At the north half of the property, I don't know how many of you have been on there. There's a little gravel ring road that goes up to the north end by the warehouses and it curls back around. We want to leave the wetlands alone, God help us, we do not want to go there. We want to preserve that part of it. We want to preserve the creek that runs through at the north end. What we would just do is pave that road so people can go up that way and park and look and do whatever the nature walkers do. Look at birds, I don't know what they do, but the north half of the property is not going to be developed very much at all. We're going to focus on the south half of the property. What else? There was a site permit granted by Homer Glen for the clay fill operations. I went out there, I go out there every few days and take a look at everything, and if you drive by there tomorrow, it looks just like flat dirt out there. They've pulled out 1.5 foot of topsoil and they've backfilled it with clay, and over the next 3 to 4 months, they're going to continue bringing clay in and placing it on that pad over there. And that's what's going to be used for that east lot and for the building. The Muslim Cemetery, I don't know what the name of the development is.
I think that's the name of it.
I don't know. I was not invited to the meeting last week. I'm at home eating pork chops, and they, Brent, you gotta come, you gotta get to the meeting. There's people trying to throw you under the bus. I'm like, oh my God. So I had my sweatpants on, and I showed up, and they put me at the front table, and the only exposure that I have, Lynn, was I granted a access permit to their property from Homer Township roads. They had to get that from me. The county provided a site development permit for phase 1. Now, to me, what phase 1 is, from what I saw in their plan, was it's like a 200-foot road with a cul-de-sac on it, and that's it. So all they have permission to do is grade and construct that entrance road. That's all. Anything over and above that is not allowed, either by us or by the county, land use department. I think it's land use department has the...
They have the last say.
Yes. So I was out there today, and they have the stone in for the road. The paving operations should only take maybe two or 3 days. It's a small roadway, and then that should be it. And whether or not they're digging graves right now within that 5 acres, that's, the township isn't told about stuff like that. I'm completely in the dark with that part of it. Things that worry me is traffic, because Meter Road does not have the capacity for large funerals or gatherings. I don't know, I know Muslim weddings have a lot of people. I don't know how the burials go, but I'm concerned about that part. So they said there's going to be 24,000 burials or something there.
That's what their website says.
Wow. So my question is, for if they get into another phase, is okay, well, how does that affect the roadway network? Are we going to have cops directing traffic at the entrance? Are we going to have to put up like a traffic signal or something? Are we going to have to add turning lanes on the street? There's a whole bunch of questions that I have, you know, if they go to another phase. But water quality, like Steve said, is a big issue because of the groundwater out there and the aquifer that's out there. It's very important that that water is preserved, the quality of it, and it's not affected by these burials, and they're going to have to monitor the groundwater. What I've seen in the past is ground monitoring wells put around the perimeter of properties like this, so you can sample the water and see if it's affected, the groundwater. And I think the guy kind of touched on that a little bit. I don't know if he went that far, the guy with the white hair. I don't know what his name was.
The health department.
The health department guy that was there last week. So from my perspective as an engineer, I think the groundwater's gotta be tested, and there's gotta be some kind of investigation done before any more permits are provided, on what's been looked at in the past in cemeteries of this nature. But that didn't come up either. So the county has gotta,
That'll be tomorrow.
that would be tomorrow, but if you want my input as an engineer, that's what I would be concerned about. And whether your wells are 80 feet deep or 100 feet deep, 50 feet deep, whatever, eventually that leachate gets down into it, gets down into the groundwater. It'll happen, it's just gotta be monitored to make sure. And then if it's bad, how do you fix it? Do you just say you're not getting the permit? You know, I don't know. But those are my thoughts on the cemetery property. And I think it's like a 40-acre property. And I looked on their website and they got like buildings and all kinds of stuff on there. That wasn't in their initial permit. I don't know if that's their plan. But we did not give them an access permit to build any buildings. That's definitely not something that I gave to them. So, go
Can I
ahead.
ask a question?
Mhm.
Has anybody spoken to a representative of the cemetery?
Omar came into my office to get the permit. That's the only person I've talked to from any of them. That's
Has
it.
anybody from the board here talked to anybody? They've not reached out to you in light of everything that's been happening in the last week? No?
No.
May I ask a question? May I ask a question? At the meeting, the town hall meeting about the cemetery, you had said that the permit was for 2 pieces of equipment and
For
you
grading,
did.
yes, a bulldozer and a excavator, yes.
Okay, all right. And it's been known and it's been seen that there were like 2 rollers,
They have, to construct the roadway, they have a sheephead roller. It's like a big roller with like little bumps on it. That's to compress the stone. And then a static and dynamic roller with a smooth drum will be used for the asphalt.
and one.
They have that right to build the road.
Okay, and one excavator. So I would like you to make it clear. You said at the meeting there were only 2 pieces of equipment allowed, and then people are seeing more. So
Yeah,
how
for-
does that work?
Yeah, for grading, they were only allowed to bring in on trailers 2 pieces. But then they also have the ability to construct the road. I can't block that, but then it stops after that.
Okay, well, it's clear now, except
Yeah,
I
so
think
when-
people thought that there was
I
only 2
apologize.
pieces.
I
or-
came in cold.
I'm not
I didn't-
criticizing, I'm just saying the fact.
So-
And people didn't
And I-
know that there would
yeah.
be more equipment.
I appreciate the fact that there's other people watching. I do have my staff go out there every single day to watch. So, with the asphalt, it's like 2 days, there's gonna be semis coming in. There's usually about 10 tons in each semi. There's only probably about 110 tons of asphalt gonna be placed. So I anticipate 2 days they should be done with the paving. Now they're putting in the stone below. That should only take a couple more days as well. So, but I don't know outside the road what else they're doing. But they're not allowed to bring anything else in. So, I mean, 5 acres is a big piece of land, but I didn't see anything past that. I don't know how they're gonna, well anyways,
No,
but,
we can end the cemetery conversation and move on, and if anyone
Yeah.
has questions, call the Will County Land Use Department and ask them, because they're the ones in charge. Go ahead, Brent.
let's see. The budget is in the packet. Let me look it up here in the back. This is 9-8. For the equipment and building fund, the tax levy is gonna be approximately 250,000 next year, which is basically exactly what it was the previous year. Expenditures are 300,000. We have 49,000 as the beginning balance, so it's a balanced budget. For the road and bridge fund, the property tax levy went down from 900,000 to 600,000. We cut it by 30%. We have a beginning balance anticipated of 1.287 million. We have expenditures of 1.71 million. and a balanced budget on that as well. And I'm presenting that to the board. The levy will not be sent into the county until December, I think the last week of December.
But we gotta present the budget in June, so that's when it'll be.
Passing in June. We're passing this in June. Passing.
Let's see here. The Smith Road Bridge, Phase 1 engineering, is supposed to be starting this spring. From what I've been told, the project is going to be completed in 2026, 2027, depending on how long IDOT takes to review the Phase 1, 2, and 3 engineering services. That is going to be done through a three-way agreement between the City of Lockport, Lockport Township Road District, and Homer Township Road District, so it's split 3 ways, so we're not the only ones paying for it. IDOT is picking up 80% of the bill. We're only picking up, the 3 of us, 20% of the bill. It's going to be invoiced on a monthly basis, so we don't get hit all at once from it, which is a good thing as well. Our paving program, Lynn had asked about Meter Road. We're doing a 1 mile stretch of Meter Road by the cemetery, and I had no idea about the cemetery when I picked it. I picked it 8 months ago. You know, and so Meter Road is the primary route we're doing this year. It needs it bad. We're gonna strip out the top 5 or 6 inches of asphalt and stone out there and replace it. And that program is starting next month.
Okay, so is Meter Road 1 mile? I don't know.
We're doing a mile of it.
So does it go from Bruce?
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
That's the
Bruce?
top end, all the way down 1 mile. And then that's the end of the township. I can't go
Right,
past that.
okay.
So
May I ask
there-
a question?
Yeah.
There is information going around, I cannot verify it, only you can, that says that the road is going to be widened.
Nope, 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 nope. I'd like to talk to who said that.
Well,
We don't have the money to widen our roads.
Well, it's more than.
Maybe by a foot. I mean, we want a standard 24 feet. My predecessors just kind of kept tar and chipping the same width, 22 feet I think it is on most of the roads, but we're going 24 feet and we're putting on 2-foot stone shoulders. I mean,
And Brent,
that's.
anybody that has questions for Brent, you wanna talk to him after the meeting so we can
Okay,
get rolling
well,
out?
so there's 1.5 miles of roads that we're doing for the roadway program, and Meter Road is the centerpiece of it. It's a mile, most of it is Meter Road. We had bid out 2.3 miles, but bids came in a little high, so we had to cut back to meet our budgetary number. There is a lighting program this year that's going to go ahead. We had a pre-construction meeting on that and the roadway program last week on the 2nd to set schedules and talk to the contractors and make sure that we're on the same page with submittals and work schedules, times of day, traffic control, and things like that. The solar lighting program will be next year if it turns out to be feasible. We're putting in 1 test light by the road district building to see how it turns out. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. We're gonna have to look at other ways to provide lighting in dark areas of the township roadway system. The striping program, all of the township roads are going to be striped this year. That's going to start after the roadway program. That's the entire 20 miles. Trantina Farm, I think I talked about with everything. That's my report, and I can hang out for a few minutes afterwards if y'all would like to talk to me. Thanks.
Okay, next we have the assessor report, Carmen Morella.
Thanks, Steve.
Congratulations, young man.
Congratulations.
As the federal tax season, time for you.
Sign up, Carmen.
No need for introduction. So as the federal tax season ends, we get a lot of calls from seniors for senior freeze and senior exemption because they need their tax forms and stuff for that. Just a reminder, it's July 1st. I know they like to get their information, which is fine. We still take your information now. If they have any questions or concerns, our website has all the forms out there, and there are checklists for the seniors. If they have trouble filling out the forms, by all means, if they would like to come to the assessor's office, by all means, we'll help them out in any way we can. There was also a little confusion with the veterans. A lot of times the veterans have their exemptions, and some veterans can't make it to the county office or to the assessor's office. So advised by the supervisor assessment, any veterans that are immobile, usually the exemption rolls forward, so there's never usually an issue. I just want to let them people know that if by chance you have a family member that is immobile and has a hard time getting their exemption, by all means, reach out to us. We can facilitate getting information from you. Whether our staff members or our field guys need to go out to get that information, we have the staff to do that, and we will be more than happy to do that. Our office is here to help. You guys have any questions, you guys have any concerns, our website has an inquiry. By all means, reach out into the inquiry. All we ask is for your PIN number. Our staff is designated to what inquiries go to which staff member, and they do reach out within 24 hours. So if anybody has any questions regarding assessments, by all means, reach out. We changed a lot of things in our office in the last couple of years. We're more digital, so it's a lot easier for us to give you information. We don't have to go in the back files and print out any PRC cards. We can email them right to you. You guys have them in front of you. And by all means, reach out. We can get it for you. Okay? That's all I have to report, Steve.
And Carmen, you want to say one more thing about everyone's taxes went up substantially, about the assessed value?
Everybody's assessed value went up. That was no surprise. I mean, if we all looked at the market, people's homes were selling for more than actually they were a couple of years ago. So at no surprise, assessed values did go up. We do look at that on a yearly basis. We are in a quadrennial, so we are trying to assess the entire township. We see that a lot. As the market is increased, we see the assessed value is going to increase because it's all based off cost. We use a lot of cost sheets to figure out what your assessed values are. We're a third of what the market price is, so if you're looking at your house and Zillow is a great place to start, and you see your home for $100,000, we're only assessing at $33,000 plus the land, so the land's in there too. So just an FYI for everybody.
Thank you, Carmen.
No problem. Thanks, Carmen.
Okay, now we move on to accounting. A motion to approve all payment of bills for April 2023. Founders Crossing Bond, Founders Crossing General Assistance Open Space, Park Developer Contribution, Park Town Road and Bridge, and Equipment and Building.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I'll take a roll call. Trustee Bonomo?
Yes.
Trustee Shake? Yes. Supervisor Ballich?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Then we have old business. We have the micro pantry. We're going to be, as soon as the weather breaks, we're going to start working on that. We're going to be doing that with the Homer Republicans because we don't have enough places and people. So we joined up with an organization that's willing to help us. So the Homer Republicans is going to team up with us to do that. And we have some people that are going to build them. So again, we're going to have micro pantries for humans and for animals, and we're going to have Narcan, just so you know. I talked with the health department, and they're going to get us Narcan for inside of the human micro pantries.
Excellent.
Okay? But,
Also no charge.
and there's no charge, it'll
Yeah.
just be free, and they'll be outside, so people can drive up, and no one's gonna, you can wait till there's nobody around if you're embarrassed, but why be embarrassed? If you need the food, take it. So, that's the idea, put it outside so people can go in it and just get it, and everyone uses it. And same with your dogs and cats, 'cause those poor animals gotta eat too. And if people can't afford food for themselves, how the hell are they gonna buy food for their animals? So, that's why we're doing both. Okay, the next one is, there's no executive session.
I'm not gonna say something
Oh,
about
You know what, you missed
Did you
the,
skip the committee and trustee report?
yeah, that's why I said I missed them. We got, yeah, hey, I did it on purpose, Mike, so.
Oh, no, it's no problem, no problem.
Wait, before you do that, can I ask Steve a question about what can I just ask a question real quick? So you said that you're gonna get, in the micro pantry, you're gonna have the Narcan available? Where did, I know that sometimes you can get, in some micro pantries, you can get cough medicines and medicines for your kids and stuff. Where does the medicine go, so, things like that, so that, because I know this is gonna be a question, so that it's not accessible to.
Yeah, well, what happened, Dr. Burke from the county, she's in charge of Narcan. And Dr. Burke approached me and said that she heard we're gonna do this, and she said that she's already stocking certain places that have these, that accept them.
Okay.
And that it's real important because it's gotta be accessible to people, so if we get 50 cans of Narcan in a month taken away from there, she said that's great. Because that'll save 50 kids maybe. So it may not be adults taking the Narcan, it may be kids.
Kids, okay.
When
It's
I
not
say
like-
kids,
right.
youths,
Exactly.
yeah.
It's not something, and it's not something, this is,
Can't harm
you could, that's what I want.
Right, so we're not,
I knew you were the person that should be asking that, Steve.
yeah, so we're looking
I
at
do
youth,
trainings, I
we're looking at
find
youth,
safe
youths,
and
you know, like, more like teenager boys.
That's
and
great,
girls.
no, yeah, I just,
But
question.
they don't care how much, ask me after the meeting, okay?
Applies to this.
Huh?
It applies to this.
Go ahead, Grant, I
All
can't.
right. New Lenox has classes on Narcan on Zoom that are taught by Dr. Burke, and they're free of charge.
And I'm sure John would have stuff too, but
Yeah, I do
I mean-
them all the time, and we get it from the state free of charge, and that's why we're able to offer it free.
and that's why Dr. Burke can too.
And exactly.
I mean, if we don't get it from her, we'll get it from you.
For us, it's $75, for a citizen at Howard Glen, that's $125 kit of Narcan. So, but you know what, it's needed out there.
But that's why we're doing it, and that's why that was set up before you came.
Yeah.
So we could put
No,
a
I
smile
was
on your
very impressed,
face.
I love it.
It's a good idea with the younger people, like you had said, like teenagers, you know, wanting to have that anonymity and going there and just grabbing the kid and going. It's a good idea.
And if you want, we can bring them over for your fire extinguisher cabinets and your AED cabinets.
Bring 'em.
Because people already know. So I'll stop by with a couple cases.
Go ahead and bring it. Okay, let's see, Trustee Rivera called, he couldn't make it, and Conley couldn't make it. So now we got Homer Township Committee and trustee reports. Homer Town, we don't gotta read that.
No, just the same.
Senior Task Force, Mike Bonomo.
All right, yeah, I have a couple things I want to say, and then I don't think Joe wants to go along with what I'm talking about. First, I want to thank John Roberts for coming in and bringing up a hot topic in this area, and the whole United States for that matter. And it's not going to stop until we stop it, I think, you know, so. Testament to you, appreciate that. In regards to seniors, we got a lot of things coming up and going on right now. I want to give a shout out to Dane O'Brien. We're going back to Cross of Glory tomorrow for bingo. And as Steve said, it's growing. We're at an average of about 115, 120 seniors coming to our bingos, which is great. They love what we're doing and they want us to continue. And then we are going to be adding activities as we go on. In regards to activities coming up, we're doing bunco, things like that. But one thing about Homerfest, and I wanted to say this too, about the reputation, and this goes to Dan with the village, is we provide food to the seniors every time we have a bingo, and we want to try something different. So I went, being on the Homerfest committee, went through the list of all the food vendors that are going to be part of it, and I reached out to Smoky Z's thinking there's a little something different. They were so thrilled to be part of it. The owner of Smoky Z's, what's his name? Bob calls me on a Friday night, says, "What can I do for you?" And I said, "Well, I need to feed 120 seniors on Tuesday. I know they get pulled pork and whatever else you get. Whatever I can do, what's your budget?" I said, anywhere from $400 to $500. He says, "I'll give you enough food to feed $125 and I'll keep it at your budget. No questions asked." And I lead that to the reputation, and again, with how Homer Glen is viewed, Homer Township, what have you, he was thrilled and excited for it. So kudos to him. And we're just looking forward to tomorrow and things going forward. And in relation to Homerfest, as everyone may or may not know, we're having a senior day on Sunday, June 25th, from 1 to 5, and we're inviting not as many seniors. We do have a limitation in terms of space, but we are going to invite the seniors to come to the bingo because they've been with us since day one. And we'll go public, so whoever else wants to join us, they're more than welcome. And we're going to try to provide food, have bingo, and a couple other fun activities for them. And again, it's something different, unique, and we want to expand the attendance at the Homerfest to include seniors, and we want them to have a good time. So that's the end of my report.
Okay.
Angel?
And Angel, you got anything?
Mike, did you want to mention anything about the veterans?
Oh, well, I guess because I guess you could say it's a township thing. So one of the things that I thought about, in handling the seniors, and there's probably about 6 or 8 of them in our group that are veterans. So I thought, why not incorporate a veterans event along with the senior day? So what we decided, we're going to take about a 45-minute block during the senior day from 2 to 2:45, and we're going to acknowledge the veterans in our area. My goal is to represent the Navy, Air Force, Marines, Army, and Coast Guard with flags, tributes, and everything. It's going to be a joyous occasion. It's not going to be a somber moment. We're going to be acknowledging the veterans for what they've done for us and make it a joyous occasion. The plans are, we're still in the planning stage for it, but from 2 to 2:45, we're going to have a day that will not be forgotten. My plan is to blow it out of the water, and we're going to make these veterans loud and proud, and we're going to show them respect, and that's my goal for that day. So I'll end it right there.
Ms. Angel?
Just a couple things. So with the addition of a special needs committee, I've just been reaching out to a couple places. I used to work at Misericordia years and years ago, so I reached out to some people at Ms. North, Lamb's Farm. I'm just trying to get some ideas on different programs and like who they connect with, so we can get some more information on that. So it's a work in progress, so that's going to take some time. The other thing is, not to get back on topic, but I have just a couple things. Everybody, this whole cemetery thing, like blindsided everybody, right? So as soon as we found out about it, we had like 2 days to do mass research. Couple things I found out, and I kind of still, I'm unclear about this, but now I was told by several people, by the Muslim cemetery group that I reached out to, that they bury bodies 3.5 deep, 3.5 feet deep, wrapped in a shroud. Now, something was said at that town hall meeting. Somebody had mentioned something about going 6 feet deep. So
It's
3.5, right?
3.5.
Thank you for
Yeah.
clarifying, because that's what I thought. So then you talked about the trickle down effect into the water.
And that's per body though.
Per body.
They stack them sometimes.
Correct,
2, 3.
correct. But, so they were telling me, just to put some people's minds at ease, there's no mass burial going on. Nobody's dumping 24,000 bodies in a mass grave. This is a respectful thing. They're not just going to, it's just like the Jewish cemetery or like the regular cemeteries. The only difference is, honestly, when Christians bury a lot of them, embalm, not everyone, but they embalm, that's super unsafe for the people that are actually doing the work, for the embalmers, breathing that, everything. So that part, this is just way more respectful for the environment. The other thing is, just for people that were concerned about things going through, like what time of day is this going to be or whatever. So the burial rite generally takes place after the afternoon prayer, and they like to bury their people the day that they, after they pass. It could be up to 3 days after, but it's always after afternoon prayer, was what I was told. So just so that clarifies, it's not like things are going to be going on all night. It's not going to go to they talk about sun up to sundown like regular cemeteries.
It's usually it's after the prayer, which is usually at noon,
Mm-hmm.
and after that prayer, they bury from 1 in the afternoon until sundown.
Yeah, but
And it's 24 hours.
Right,
It's 24 hours.
but they said it's rare. Like they
Yeah.
said, mostly they try to do it right after afternoon prayer because that's just the way their rite calls for it. So there's a lot of questions, obviously, everybody has, but I think people were just jumping all over it because nobody knew any information. And I just wanted to clarify that, do your research, because we could all only find out the same thing, but the water is the biggest concern. And that was it.
Okay. And, Brent, you got anything with the truck task force?
No. One thing that I am keeping my eyes open for though is, everybody's heard about the Center Point distribution hub in Joliet and Elwood and how it's growing in leaps and bounds. Obviously, sooner or later, that's gonna affect us with truck traffic. So I ask at every meeting if anybody sees any kind of truck traffic on the residential street network, let me know if it's in the Homer Township unincorporated area, so I can try to do something about it. But that's a concern that I have, and I took that to the county engineer and really didn't get any feedback. So, but that's a real issue. That's a real problem. But that's the only thing I have for the truck force. So if any of the residential streets subdivisions, whether they're just a main road off of a subdivision, you see a truck, you let me know where the truck is at, when, and that's coming. I don't think there's a way we can avoid it, because we have main roads out here. 159th Street's an IDOT road. You have 143rd Street. You have 355. You have Route 80. That's all near our township or adjacent to it. So trucks use those routes. They're truck routes. So you got to worry about them coming through our residential streets. So keep an eye out for that, please. That's all.
Does the sheriff have a portable scale truck unit?
No.
That would make tons of.
No kidding. That would be a nice investment, wouldn't it?
They don't,
You spend too much time
they
sitting
don't,
in the park.
they just write tickets right now.
The state.
There'll be a lot of changes coming after the new budget at the county.
It's always an enforcement issue.
So, with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passes